Hello, hello, everyone. I see folks flowing in the door already. Hello, hello, and happy St. Patty's Day. I'm from Sacramento. Is that where, isn't it Sacramento where it's like always 68 degrees and rainy?
Sacramento? No, Sacramento is very,
nice.
very hot. It's
this is one of your people. You're out there, aren't you? So my guest Josh is a California.
Jesse. Oh, I mean, I grew up in California, and actually, I lived for about 7 years in Sacramento.
There you go. Nice. I am in and this is actually very fitting. I'm just outside of Annapolis. It is about an Ireland day here. It is raining, it is cloudy and overcast. It is not too cold, not too hot, but not miserable. So, and I have on my shirt that says I'm the king of malarkey and shenanigans. So we're gonna have fun today.
Excellent.
We are gonna have fun.
Excellent.
So we'll give everybody just a couple more minutes to get in here. If any of you guys have any specific questions that you want to get answered today, if you know coming in there's something you need to see or need to hear, feel free to throw it in the chat or just interrupt us as we go along. We don't consider it interrupting around here. It's called participation. So use the Q&A, use the chat. We'll be keeping an eye on both as we go and make sure that we give you guys everything you need. We aim to please. We'll give you everything other than a beer. Those are just for us. We should have FedEx beers. That's what we should have done. As a failure to plan on my part, I will fall on the sword for that one. That's that next St. Patty's Day, we're FedExing beer. We should come back and do V2 next St. Patty's Day and do exactly that.
Maybe like Amazon at that point will have.
Right, there's got to be somebody that'll do it. Like you just got to find the right brewery. Those are hard words. You got to find the right brewery to send out some beers.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna give everybody one more minute, and we got to count down, and then we will kick this puppy off. Should have done this webinar without a background and out the window, showing my view of what looks like Ireland right now, because it really does.
Nice.
It's gray and overcast and crap outside.
Awesome.
Gotta love it. All right, we had one or two more folks sneak in the door here, and I think with that, we're gonna kick this puppy off. So let's get started. There it is. There it is. That sounded good. I hope it sounded as delicious to you guys as it did to me. All right, so my name is Alex Farling. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the co-founders of Lifecycle Insights. Today I have with me Josh Whitman. We're going to talk to you guys about some pretty cool stuff. Josh and his company are kind of really changing the game where Microsoft 365 management is concerned, at least in my mind. When he explained to me, has it been a year since we first met, Josh, about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So a year ago, Josh kind of told me what they were working on, and I went, that's really freaking cool. Like, that's a thing we need. And I asked him who he was competing with, and we had that whole conversation. He said, nobody really does this. And I went, okay, all right, your competition is the status quo, and this one gets interesting. So we'll have a cool conversation about that. We're going to talk about what multi-tenant configuration management really is. Then we'll step into the bigger topic of who is Simeon Cloud. We'll give you a quick introduction to them. We're not going to bore you with a real long demo, but give you just a few minutes of a demo in the platform, let you see what it can do, what it's powerful enough to do. We'll give you a quick Lifecycle Insights kind of overview there, show you how the two pair really, really well together to do cloud compliance type conversation, to have cloud compliance type conversations with your customers. And then we'll have a conversation about what we can do proactively to deal with these insurance questionnaires that we're seeing coming from more and more insurance companies, and what we can do about them ahead of time. There's a lot of interesting things we're going to talk about as we relate to those. There'll be a deeper conversation of those. If you're a Lifecycle Insights partner, make sure you join us on our Friday workshop tomorrow. You get an email for that every week, but if you haven't gotten it, do let me know, and I'll make sure that you get it. We're going to have on Dustin Bolander from what is the name of their new company? 5 something or other. Oh, now I'm going to draw
6 something maybe.
In trouble. It's who is Dustin? Wow, fifth wall. That is it. Fifth wall cyber liability insurance or cyber insurance. So, and he is kind of becoming one of the industry's lead cyber insurance experts. So we're going to take this conversation and move it into tomorrow's call with Lifecycle Insights partners. So if you're not a partner, consider joining us because these are really exciting calls and we get to do some cool stuff. All right. So who is Josh? Josh, take it away.
Hey guys, I have sort of an interesting history. I worked for a long time in NYC at Amex. Actually, I negotiated the sports and entertainment sponsorships there. I've always been obsessed with automation, worked a lot in those roles in automating our internal business processes. And then I was able to be added to this company that I work for now as a co-founder, Simeon Cloud, helping the CEO, who's honestly a super genius, who created our configuration as code platform for managing M365. And I joined as a co-founder, and I lead our marketing and sales and operations to get the company off the ground. I'm also a surfer. I live currently in Santa Cruz, California. And I go out almost every day that I can to go surfing. Just an interesting little bit of information about me.
That's awesome. I love it. But most importantly, what is Josh drinking today?
What do I drink today? I drink today White Claw.
Josh, you understand that we're having a conversation about preparing for cyber insurance questionnaires before they get here, and you failed to prepare for our conversation. And you're showing up with a White Claw.
You know what? I like White Claw. I like White Claw. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to lie.
The Irishman in me would not allow me to drink a White Claw today, but Alex Farling, I'm one of the co-founders of Lifecycle Insights. I am self-named, sometimes Captain Obvious, sometimes the King of Shenanigans. If you don't understand the Captain Obvious reference, you'll see photos of me floating around on the internet somewhere in a Captain Obvious get up on Halloween, giving presentations for Lifecycle Insights on stage, because why not? I was a career salesman before I got into the MSP business, but about 18 years ago, I acquired a small break-fix computer shop, did the same thing that a lot of you guys have done, kind of grew it into an MSP, went through a successful exit, and now I am a recovering MSP owner who is launching what was my passion project, which was really a tool to allow MSPs to do business reviews faster, to automate some pieces of that were incredibly manual, and just to make that whole process a little more standardized and a little easier. So today, my whole goal in life is to help MSPs kind of solve that QBR VCIO problem and make it easy for them. I failed to acquire a true Irish beer, so I'm drinking a Mispillion River Irish Red, which is a pretty good little beer. And interesting fact, Mispillion River Brewing is across the street from what used to be my largest client at my MSP. And I do have a cool hat to drink my beer out of, because why not?
Excellent.
So with that, if anybody else is drinking anything great for St. Patty's Day, throw it in the chat. I'd love to hear it, because I'm a little bit of a beer snob, but which is why I heckle Josh for his White Claw.
I don't care.
So, so when you said what is configuration as code management for Microsoft 365, I want to tell you where my brain went, because my mentor at my MSP was a really, really smart guy. He's brilliant. Okay. And when he started, and he works for the state of Delaware at this point, his last project was building the state's next generation data center. Okay. And this is all these Cisco chassis that are hyperscale chassis. Like you plug in a storage node, you plug in server nodes, like it's all this weird, crazy stuff. And then you configure the whole thing with code. And the first time I'd ever heard configuration as code, I've got this guy telling me that he can stick a switch in a chassis next to a storage blade, next to something else. And they use one line of code to configure all this, roll a patch, the whole array, an entire rack will patch itself with new code and things like that. So, but they're doing the VLAN configurations, all of that kind of stuff. And they can configure the switch, the server, the NIC inside the server, like all of those things with a couple of commands in configuration as code. So as he explained this to me, I'm going, well, that's really powerful at scale. But as an MSP, configuration as code really isn't for me, right? It just doesn't scale to the size of my SMB customer who's got 100 employees, right? We're not going to have a high capacity stack like that. And then along comes Josh and goes, we do configuration as code in the cloud. And I went, well, last time I heard of it, it was pretty freaking cool. So tell these guys what you told me about how you guys use configuration as code to kind of manage the Microsoft cloud.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And what's actually nice about it is everybody can actually leverage it because we just do it in Azure DevOps.
Yep.
So it can be basically, the idea is, instead of an MSP who's managing, say, 100 different environments, instead of having to go into each one of those environments and log in, see how every setting is set, and hit a toggle or input some information and have to do that 100 times. Instead, we can just extract out those settings and store them in code.
Nice, nice. I like it, because I remember, even 2 years ago when I was exiting my MSP, our big project was, signature management, putting the banners across the top of everybody's emails, and getting MFA on all of our Microsoft 365 tenants. We're going through and doing these what
Right.
seem like little tasks,
Right.
and yet you've got to touch 100 tenants to get it done.
Yeah, it is the agile approach. It's the heaviest for automation. It's the most automated approach that is out there right now. It exists as an idea and as an approach for other areas of the world, such as software development lifecycle management, where you want to be able to extract the environment infrastructure configurations into code. You want to be able to replicate that code up to 100 other environments, so you can just make little testing happen in those environments and have everything else remain the same and make sure they're equal in all other situations. So the idea of it has always been out there. It just has never been applied as a approach and a concept to manage Microsoft 365, and that's what Simeon Cloud is doing. And we're the only solution out there that is leveraging this technology and this approach to help with the issues that exist in Microsoft 365.
Now, and that's really cool. Like that's something, it's a super time saver to MSPs, right?
Right.
I'll make the argument a little bit later today that it's not really a time saver, because MSPs just aren't doing most of this, right? There are vast gaps in our Microsoft 365 instances at probably 80% of MSPs, because we just don't have the bandwidth to get all these things right. But even cooler than that, once we get a tenant configured, right? We onboard a new customer, we go through, we click 271 boxes, slide the sliders, do the things, configure everything. Then an engineer goes and logs in to do some work and makes a change. And one of the biggest reasons, the guys at LineGuard get annoyed with me because they have met with us several times. And today, if you hear a customer say any of these 27 things, it makes them a prospect for LineGuard. And I go, okay, here's my LineGuard pitch. If you're not doing change management in your MSP, if you don't have tools for it, which none of us do, LineGuard's your tool for that. It tells me when somebody opens a port in the firewall and leaves it there. It tells me when somebody does a thing. Tell me how you guys are using this technology to give you some configuration management or change management in the Azure cloud, because I think that's interesting.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's exactly what we're doing.
That's into. I think I'm stepping on our next slide, but we can talk about that.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, that's it. That's basically it. So what we're doing is when you install a tenant onto Simeon, it will extract out those setting data into the code, and with our synchronization engine that we have on our platform, it's going to be doing that every single day. Otherwise, you can make it do that every hour, every 10 minutes, but basically what it's doing is extracting down every setting that exists in the tenant at that time that we run a sync, saving it to code, and then what our software is doing is running a comparison, just as easy as that, against other states that we've already saved. So you're getting alerting and reporting. If the change happens, you get an automated email and you get to see a log of everything that has been changed in the tenant in our user interface.
So you mentioned, comparing the current state to a state that you've saved, right? You guys have essentially taken either a snapshot or even a template of, hey, here's what the best practice looks like.
Right.
And now we're showing you where they deviate from their best practices.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. That's what configuration as code is all about. That's how you leverage it, is you can take that snapshot, see it in data, have a visualization of the environment configuration.
Here's my problem. Having run an MSP, I can tell you at 80% of MSPs, or maybe probably more. I don't want to insult the folks on here. The folks on here, it's probably at 2% of MSPs. But I want to say at a significant number of MSPs, this is you're competing against, you're selling a product that competes against the status quo where this work just doesn't get done. Right? These environments are, the baselines are probably incredibly weak. The base configuration is out of the box plus MFA and a couple of other things. The small to mid-sized MSP,
yeah, but it's only not getting done because there hasn't been a tool.
It's tools, it's training, it's bandwidth, this is it, right? And if you can solve for the training and bandwidth, and I think that's so cool.
Why would you not want to automate? Why would you not want to extract down a environment that you think is best practice and be able to apply it to another tenant?
And you guys have done the hard work of spelling out what the best practices are, or you've taken Microsoft's best practice and deployed it as code, right? So it's not your own.
That's right.
You didn't make it up.
We have a baseline that's on our website that you can look at under our docs, called the Simeon baseline, and has about 100 different settings there and policies that are basically adhering to the best practices that Microsoft recommends for security.
Nice.
So basically,
you apply that, then you give me the keys to the kingdom as an engineer. I go out there and muck it up. I didn't really think about backup and restore until just yesterday. You and I talked about this a couple times as we prepped for this. Backup and restore, whatever. Then I realized knuckleheaded tech goes out and mucks it up. All you have to do to roll it back is click a button and go. And now you can roll it back to what the setting was yesterday or the day before. And there's no pilfering through 47 windows to figure out what Alex may have checked when he was in there.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
And I tell everybody all the time, I'm just the dumb sales guy. So it took me way too long to figure that out. I'm sure the smart guys on the call already figured that out, but I think this is powerful. And it's interesting to me because I don't think anybody in the space is addressing this problem, right? So I think this is huge. This is a big deal. It's a platform I've been excited to share with the community for quite a while. I'm glad you guys finally are out the door with an actual sellable product. Because when I first met you, you were like, "It's in beta, you can't talk about it." And I'm so glad that you guys are out here now with a product, and we've been able to connect calendars and finally get you guys on for a webinar to talk about it. Sure. So, do you want to talk about this slide? Do you want to step into a demo? What do you want to do next?
I'll step into it.
All right.
I think that's probably easiest.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn the share over to you then.
Okay.
And we'll let you rock and roll. Guys, if you have questions going through this while he's doing the demo, I'm going to man the questions. I'll avoid giving you my stupid answers, but we'll queue them up and set them up for Josh to make sure that he answers all the questions you guys have today. So make sure you get them in there.
Okay. So this is our user interface. It's a web application that sits on top of Azure DevOps, as we had talked about a little bit before. This is our installation page. So all you need to do is install the tenant onto our platform. You can actually install a tenant as a baseline. Otherwise, after you've installed a baseline, and that's how Simeon works actually, is have a baseline. And what's really nice is the baseline is just a tenant. We don't need to deal with admin settings or anything like that. All you need to do is manage a tenant, and we establish that as a baseline for other tenants. And if you want to edit your baseline, all you do is just go into the tenant, just like any other Azure tenant, make your edits there. Simeon will extract down the latest updates you've made to a baseline, and it's as easy as that.
So when I need to make a change, I can make a change from your baseline and push it out to my 100 customers all at once.
Exactly. That is
Microsoft releases a new button. I don't have to go click it for. So if you guys are all already Lifecycle Insights partners, this will ring true to you. Just in the last couple of months, Microsoft went and added a checkbox that even if you had delegated admin, you had to go uncheck the box on every single tenant to de-identify your user data. So when you're pulling down this report and going, "Hey, here's all the users I support for you," we were getting these weird anonymized users and first names, last names, and email addresses. And with Simeon, they could have literally just unchecked that checkbox across their entire tenant base with one click, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Awesome.
You can push out updates to all your tenants. All you need to do is update this one tenant.
Awesome. So show us how it works.
Okay. So we have reconcile screen. So this is how it works. You can see a listing of all the various tenants you have. In this environment that we're looking at, I have a baseline, I have 2 downstream tenants. So if I just look at the baseline, this is going to be sort of the first management capability that we have that doesn't really exist anywhere out there right now, which is a documentation and a reporting of the tenant config across the Azure AD portal, the Intune portal, and the Office, all through a single pane of glass. So you can also search. So you can say, I want to see what MFA is in my tenant, and it'll bring back obviously a nice indexed search here. Every configuration that we have, so if we want to look at the conditional access that's in this baseline, again, we get to see this really nice documentation of it. Every config has a rectangle essentially, and in that you have a number of different controls. I can open up this config in our repository, and I can see it here in JSON as code. Again, when you're installing this in your own organization, you have all this data in your own Azure DevOps organization. That's how we leverage it. We're not even really a SaaS solution, we're a PaaS solution. So you actually own all your data in your own environment. So it's a lot easier for security explain to like the customers, you're running this in your own environment basically. Oh. Which is really, really nice, actually.
Yeah, I mean, for the folks who are doing higher levels of compliance, there's actually a lot of benefit there.
Right. For any engineers out there who are into this, who like to work in code, we actually deploy a bidirectional synchronization engine. So you can actually edit the code here, and it will push it back up to the tenant portal.
So you're telling me there's actually people who want to work in that?
Some.
Not it.
No, you're right. So you know what? We won't look at this that much, but it's
no,
there.
I'm sure there's some of those smart guys on the call today.
It's there if you need it. The other option, we have a linkage to actually for every single configuration that we have, you can also just launch the right area of the Azure. So that way you don't have to go digging through the various areas of Azure, Intune, and Office. If you can see it in here in Simeon, you can just hit this link and say, I want to go edit that in the Azure portal. We also have a viewer. So what that's going to do is going to attempt to abstract out the code and show you on all these various properties how the configuration is currently set. So this is a bit of documentation that just makes it a little bit easier to understand and easily be able to see how a configuration is being set.
Okay.
And then for every single configuration, you also get a set of automated actions you can do with it. So you can say, okay, here is a conditional access. I want to make a copy of it, and I want to move it to another one of my tenants on my platform. So that's if we're just looking at a baseline. If instead we want to look at a downstream environment, it's going to be showing you similar view, except for it's going to be showing you that tenant's configurations as a delta against that baseline tenant. So this is how we start thinking about compliance. This is how we start thinking about, is my tenant in the right state? Because I've already identified that I have a baseline configuration set that I want to be the ideal state. Now what we're looking at is when you look at a downstream tenant at installation, that's what we're looking at when at the installation time, we were saying, I want to install this tenant against baseline A or baseline B or baseline C. That's what we're looking at. And it's going to show that tenant as a deviation. And how we think about those different deviations are, okay, these are the different settings that are only in this uptown cycles and are not in my baseline tenant. These are the configurations that are in the baseline tenant but are not in this tenant, and I can easily just add them so it's available from the baseline. So I can just add the conditional access policies. I can do everything all at the same time. So if I want to stand up a environment from nothing to 100, I don't need to do it. I can just literally just hit all these tick boxes and hit reconcile. It will deploy the complete environment in about 8 or 10 minutes. Otherwise, you can do them one at a time. We also have a section to think about and resolve conflicts. So if you have a baseline and you install a tenant, you don't just want to take the entire thing and apply all those different settings on top of a tenant if it already has existing configurations. So if we have a conflict where this enrollment, for instance, this enrollment restriction exists in your baseline tenant and also exists in uptown cycles, but they have different settings values, our solution will also help you see what those differences are on a property level. So I can see for all these various properties that my baseline is set on true and this tenant is set on false. And I can also use these toggles here to interactively remediate those differences in the app itself.
So it's as easy as clicking a button to go bring somebody back into compliance.
That's correct.
And so and I saw a report button there at the bottom. It looks to me like you can just export a report right out of here to tell me whether someone's in compliance or not.
All this information, everything that you see here, all this amazing documentation about what these things are even doing, how they're different, what's only in the tenant, what's only in the baseline, where are the conflicts, what are the conflicts, how are they in line, all of that can just be exported to Excel.
So for MSP, for Lifecycle Insights partners, what I'm hearing is quarterly when I go to do my risk review with my customer, I can dump a report out of here. I can look for my conflicts with my baseline, and I can literally identify every problem that I need to discuss with my customer about their Microsoft 365 like that.
Absolutely.
This is to me, for Lifecycle Insights partners who are probably ahead of the norm in the MSP space, where they're actually looking at their customer security configurations as they do risk assessments quarterly or semi-annually or whatever. Mm-hmm. The big pain point is collecting the data. And this really helps you collect the data. And I hadn't seen inside of here before. So I really like where you guys are headed with this.
Absolutely. So let me just show you some of the other things we have here. Sync page is where we can stage events. So if you do make an update to a baseline tenant and you say, okay, I want this to go down to all my 100 tenants, it's not going to be automatic. You're going to get a approval process. And that's what this is going to be doing here. You'll get a report, which is a preview of what's going to happen. You can see what it wants to do, and then you can just approve or reject. And we also have here a history of exports. Let me just expand this here. And an export report is created every single day. Every single day, we create a report, which again is the engine going back up to the APIs of the tenant, extracting down the different settings to code and showing you what's changed. So all these days, nothing changed. Nothing was added, removed, or changed. Otherwise, it would be at the top. Yep. If you go back enough and you get an I here, then it's basically saying, hey, on this day, we detected a change. And you
Somebody was mucking around in here.
Yep. And you would have also, exactly. And you would have also got an automated email on this day.
Nice. So you can actually alert us and say, hey, somebody made a change to your config, something changed. You
exactly.
Need to make sure that's right.
Exactly.
Awesome. There's change management, folks. There's change detection. I love it.
That's it. That's it. That's what it's all about. You have all the information right here. It's all stored here.
Do you guys have, Carrie's asking if you guys have PSA integration. Are you opening tickets in PSAs, or are you just sending out an email that dumps to the PSA?
Good question. Right now, it's an automated email. However, we use Azure DevOps as our orchestration tool. So there's infinite amount of integration capabilities, and we do provide assistance in implementation of our solution. If you want to attach a webhook to get this data to go to like a PSA system or go to like a Teams channel or something like that.
Okay, cool. Sean asked a really important question, and I think he's skipping ahead on the slides. He asked about the DLP setup. So anybody who's got to deal with data loss prevention, we know that's a nightmare in 365 to configure manually for all your customers.
Sure. Yeah. So if you go to our website and you go to resources and you go to baseline, you can see what our baseline is. So we We have a lot of these types of policies, particularly in Intune. So if you go down to our baseline and look at the Intune settings, a lot of these are going to be addressing data loss prevention policies, and it's everything. It's every single DLP policy you can do pretty much in Intune. We have it in our baseline.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So we've gotten the how much wallet pain is involved question. I know we don't want to dive directly into pricing on a webinar, but
it's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think.
Kerry said he'll buy it for $1. I assume he means $1 for every finger on every customer he has. For $10 a user. Kerry's in. So good. We've got a taker already. That's awesome. And luckily, guys, Josh brought you a cool little demo or a free trial option and a coupon at the end. So we'll be able to get you guys to check some of this out. When it deploys policies, IE says a baseline has Duo MFA. Are they disabled by default so that we still have to customize included, excluded users per tenant, etc.? So how do you guys deal with it when there's like a Duo in there for MFA as opposed to something else?
So sorry, I'm not sure I understand though.
So if they're using, I believe what Lowell's asking is if they use MFA that's not Microsoft. Is the policy just going to say MFA is busted, or are they going to identify that Duo is integrated there and look at it appropriately? Lowell, did I do justice to that, or did
I? Honestly, I'm not sure about that. We are configuring M365. So that would be the Azure AD conditional access policies that we're implementing MFA with.
I'm not sure if they're aware. I'm not sure if those policies get updated or made aware of Duo. So
of other policies. Okay, sure. Yeah, you can reach out to me after, and I can ask our engineering team.
Okay. He clarified mostly what happens when a policy is put in place and it has no users included or excluded. Well, that's going to give you that that deficiency report, right?
Right, exactly. So the Microsoft Secure Score algorithm is going to look at that.
Okay,
for sure.
I'm getting blamed for drinking at 11:30. I will have you know it is 2:30.
The only other thing I might show here, which is interesting, is how we do our backup and restore, because that's also going to come up in our conversation later. But basically, if you remember, we were looking at those exports and we were seeing that there was a change. What we can do in our user interface is we can actually run a comparison of the existing state of a tenant, any tenant, against itself. And then what we have here is a history of different saved versions of that tenant. So I think we were looking at February 2nd. So I can say I want to run a comparison against the current state of my tenant against February 2nd. And then I get this exact same type of reconciliation analysis where I can say, okay, these are only in the master version, meaning these have been added since then. These are available in that older version, meaning it's been erased since then, and I can just add it back using that exact same thing. And then we can also see the conflicts. So we can see now with our view button that the older version of the tenant had this setting set on 60. Now it's set on 120, and I can use this like same exact workflow to say I want to recover that old configuration.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about like a compliance like standpoint, and you have to say, how is my tenant set right now? How is it set at a previous point in time? It's as easy as coming in here and you get this report, and also guess what, you can export this same thing into Excel and it'll give you all this information. That's what's matching, what has a conflict, what's in the old version is not in the new version, what's in the new version is not in the old version.
Awesome. So Oscar asked if you're doing O365 ATP settings as well, like anti-phishing and safe links.
Yes. So the other thing you can do, and I encourage everyone to look at this, but you can go to our resources, go to our docs page, go to manage configurations. And this is a listing of everything that we support, and we update this as we release new things. So we got here, we got ATP anti-phishing and safe links here.
Nice, awesome. And Lowell asked the best practice for adding a new policy that you want to deploy everywhere. Do you add it to one tenant and then import it into a baseline, or exactly how does that get configured?
You just add it to your baseline tenant. It's just a tenant. So what you do is you're going to create a tenant that's just like every other tenant. It just has no users. Use it as a shell tenant, and you just add it there, and that's easy as that.
Makes perfect sense. So we've got basically a shell tenant. Is there any cost for Microsoft for having that shell tenant, or is that?
Yeah, but because it's not going to have a lot of users, it's only going to be like the cost of one license in the tenant.
Okay.
Like $18 or $10 or $12. We recommend a F3 license for that tenant. I think it's like $8 or
just
$12
to give you
a month.
all the right features.
Yep. Make sure you get in tune. Make sure you be able to handle everything we have in our baseline.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to move ahead a little bit. I'm sure you guys have more questions, and we'll cover those kind of as we work our way through. But we want to make sure that we get to everything we wanted to talk about today. We will definitely give you guys Josh's info on the way out so that you can harass him directly as well, because you know us, we like to be everywhere and drag everybody everywhere. We can even drag him out into Slack. We're turning him into a Slacker just like the rest of us. So, if you guys want to chat with him directly, we'll drag him out there too. But so we want to step into, we wanted to talk a little bit about what you guys do, about what we do, and then kind of tie the two together and show everybody how these two tools play so nicely together. You know, when we started building Lifecycle Insights, we really were looking to solve a problem. In fact, the sales pitch kind of went something like, I ran into Marnie at volleyball, and she said, I've got two developers who really don't like the company we work for. You know, we've got a team here. We're looking for a problem to solve. Do you have a problem? And I went, well, lots of them, but one of them is related to technology, and I think you can solve it. And the point was that the VCIO QBR process was just super painful, super manual, and I knew I had data that I just didn't have easy access to. So the problem that we solved for was really being able to create a known data set that we could report to our clients on without having to have these. And somebody said it better than I ever have. They said, you know, you guys help turn server room conversations into boardroom conversations. We take the technical and dumb it down to something that a C-level executive can understand. Along the line, we give MSPs kind of tools to align the customer's current status quo, what we've identified in a risk assessment, to their strategic goals and their business pains, and we kind of just tie all that up together, nice and neat and easy, and help walk customers into compliance, into a more secure and stable environment, just by dumbing down the conversation, taking away the things that are scary, and helping them really strategically plan moving forward. And we do it with a lot of automation that MSPs are. I'm ignoring Carrie, just in case you were wondering. He's just giving me shit. But
and me,
you know, that's fair. But you know, the big thing that I wanted to talk about today is the fact that we're seeing more and more things from our partners than ever, from our customers than ever. They go, knock, knock, knock. Hey, I got this weird thing. My vendor or my customer's vendor, whatever, some dude three lines down the supply chain has to go prove that all his vendors are okay. So now my customer, who is somebody else's vendor, has to answer all these questions, right? We're seeing these things coming from everywhere. Somebody's insurance policy, somebody's vendor's insurance policy. Now we got to answer all these questions. What we're doing with Lifecycle Insights is giving you guys a pretty customizable method where you can build out these risk assessments, where you can ask any question that's come across any risk assessment in the past to all of your future customers, and sit them down and say, hey, we're seeing these questions come up. We're seeing these problems in the industry. Actually, tomorrow we're going to release to you guys a brand new template with 55 or 60 questions that are the most common ones seen across all insurance carriers, including a core about a smaller core group that we're seeing on almost every insurance questionnaire, and the ones that will get you denied coverage, not just get you more expensive coverage. So we're going to give you those kind of templates, but we really give you guys the ability to do all of this in a pretty simple, easy fashion. So the goal is for us to be able to give you with a quick printout all the data and all the reports that you need to go have a quarterly business review that doesn't suck. I actually give a stand-up pitch at or gave a stand-up pitch at IT Nation last year that was how to give a QBR that how to give a QBR or QBRs that suck or something like that. And, we kind of poke at that and have fun with that. But the real conversation is nobody's enjoying building these things. They're tedious, they're long, they're time consuming. And we're now getting just the same way that Josh is doing a lot of automation on the, alignment with best practices and the compliance front. We're doing a lot of automation around collecting this data and getting it out to you. So, aside from the basic stuff that you've seen in Lifecycle Insights for a while, are integrations where we dive in and pull data from your current tools, right? IT Glue for documentation, ConnectWise, Autotask, Synchro, Halo PSA for PSA tools, then Microsoft 365, LionGuard, Breach Secure Now, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Microsoft Surface Warranty Lookup, Cisco Meraki, and Cisco SmartNet. We combine data from all of these tools into different reports. So we're going to give you those reports that I just showed you up on the screen. Whether it's an asset list or a user list. A budget forecast is one of our most popular reports, because with a couple of clicks, I can make a 12-month budget forecast. I can see when my customer's got a big spend coming, and I probably shouldn't be making my recommendation that they go out and do a big project. And I can see the 5-year budget, where I know when their worst year is going to be and when their spend is going to be through the roof, and when they're going to have their problems, making sure that they can cover all of the expenses they have. But really what I want to talk about today is assessments. Because one of the big things that we do in our tool is go ahead and help you build an assessment template, which is just a list of questions that you're going to answer about your customers. So Oscar said we monthly updates and spend significant amount of time doing this. Yeah, everybody did. You're spot on. You can brand all this with your logo in the bottom corner. It doesn't have our brand on it anywhere in any of the output. All of our output today is Word doc based. So it's Word doc. If you spit it out and need to mangle it a little bit, you can. So the assessment starts with a template, and my demo environment has way too many of them, but you'll see here, the following templates have been shared with you. When you log in for the first time, you can borrow from one of our templates. If you log in tomorrow and check, you'll see that you have the Simeon Cloud. Oh, sorry, it's up here because I've already imported it. You'll see that you have a Simeon Cloud template to import. So Josh is going to give us some questions that Simeon Cloud's really good at answering that apply directly to insurance and compliance standards. He's going to show us these things that are easy to answer with Simeon Cloud, but we'll just give you 4 new questions to import. You can one-click import, kind of slurp all that into your existing tenant, into your existing questionnaire. And what we're going to do then is we're literally going to go out and have an assessment event for a customer. So let's say somebody just went out and did this assessment event for my customer. I can run through here and literally score it red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green. The best thing, to Oscar's point, is they go back and do this monthly or quarterly or whatever your cadence is. The beauty of what Simeon Cloud does, and mixed with us, is the ability for us to go out and say, here's the old status. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this event. I can copy over my previous responses and just edit what's changed. The beauty of this is I'm looking at Josh's report. I go, nothing's changed, nothing's changed, nothing's changed. Oh, this one's off. I know exactly what question to go mangle, and I can quickly dive in and go change the answer on a specific question. So that's a pretty slick little thing there. I have a feeling we're going to go over these four assessment items here in a minute, but MFA enforcement, conditional access, DLP policies, and backup and restore of Azure AD, Intune, and Microsoft configurations. I have a feeling that if every MSP here were to go answer these, you're going to answer a lot of these with reds and yellows that you're not going to be able to say, we got all these nailed. So this is, these are questions that I think that once you have Simeon Cloud, it's going to be really easy for you to go to your customer and say, hey, I got my columns backwards, but it's going to be really easy for you to go to your customer and say, hey, currently you look like this. We're going to adopt a new tool and configure some policies, and we're going to get you looking like this. And we'll take you from scoring at 25% to 100%. These are also really great in pre-sales assessments, right? We go out to our customer and say, hey, I got good news and bad news. I know you scored at 25% on our baseline, and we might have we got a whole different assessment we run for this, but you met 25% of my base standard policy and best practices at your company. Well, let's go have the conversation about what it looks like if you come to work with my MSP. I know your guy charges you $1,000 a month. I got good news and bad news. The good news is you're getting exactly what you're paying for. The bad news is you're getting exactly what you're paying for. And that is all of this risk right here, right? Yes, we have CMMC and some to state 171. I can't remember if it's just a couple of families or not, but otherwise you can import anything you want from a CSV. So we can build any and all of those. So my conversation is simple. You're getting what you're paying for, and you're getting what you're paying for. So I can solve for these problems. The problem is that you're just not spending enough money. So let's go ahead and bill you $3,000 a month to fix all the problems in your environment. Everything goes from red to green and life is good, right? And this is how we can go use this as a wedge to drive between a customer and their current MSP. And that wedge gets even deeper when you go, and here's a sample of what a budget might look like out of my tools. Now, I'm sure your current IT provider gives you a budget, but I just want you to see what mine looks like. Once you onboard with us, we'll have an inventory of all your hardware, and we'll go ahead and build you out a budget for the next 5 years for all of your technology spend. And they'll go, my guy doesn't give me a budget. Wait, you give people budgets? And you will have yourself a brand new customer. So this tool right here, a couple of things in the sales pitch and a couple of things in the upsell, really make it easy for you to do some of this for your clients, to really step up your game where account management is concerned. And folks who are doing all of this, building budgets and doing full of risk assessments and all that, they tell us they save anywhere from 4 to 6 or 8. One guy told us he saved up to 12 hours a client every time he touches them. So he was doing way too much. He should have chilled out a long time ago, but he's doing just as much now and saving a ton of time. So, and to your point, Oscar, I believe the CMMC that's in here is still 1.0. So 2.0 has not been uploaded yet. And what was the other one you asked me for? 800-171. I think family 3 is all that 3.1 is all that's in there. So if you're looking for more than that, we can help you manipulate it and get in there what you need. But those are ones you can download from the door. So guys, that's a really high level Lifecycle Insights overview. If you want to find more, we'll give you some links at the end and some coupons and some easy ways to find us. I don't want to spend a lot of time diving into demos today because you guys obviously have a lot of questions for Josh. He's got a cool product and I want to make sure we highlight it. So Josh, can you see my my screen again?
Yep.
Okay. Here's some of the reports you can get out of our tool. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You know, we do have an integration with Breach Secure now, so you can see what users have been breached. A risk assessment summary to show the client, nice color coded and everything. This will be your logo. Somebody asked about logos, so this becomes your logo down here. And you know, makes it pretty easy, pretty simple. Wes, thanks for the good words. I appreciate it. I'll send you a beer later. And then, so what we really want to step into though is the conversation of cybersecurity risk assessment questionnaires, right? These are 2 screenshots I took of 2 that customers have sent to me where they're being asked for things like, what kind of data do you store in your networks? What are you doing to manage sensitive networks? Has the client experienced any data theft or potential data theft, right? Some really good ones. Do we have an up-to-date firewall technology? Do we have multi-factor authentication? We all know at this point, a firewall is really a small layer in the security onion. But as our cybersecurity insurance partners get smarter, and they're engaging with professionals. As they get smarter, we're going to see more and more detailed questions, right? And today we're answering questions about, do we have MFA? Next, we're going to be answering questions like, do you have MFA on everything, right? And it's funny, I went to a conference out in where were we? Tampa, down in Tampa. I went to a conference called Right of Boom. Best conference I've been to as far as training and education in a long time. I don't remember who it was. I think it was John Strand from Black Hills InfoSec was up on stage and said, he said something about multi-factor authentication. He said, and I'm just blown away by how many MSPs I've watched log in here at this event to their laptop without MFA on their laptop. And I think our insurance companies are going to pick up on that. They're going to start to ask those questions. They're going to start to expect those things. What are you guys seeing? I mean, you know, all right, so Lowell, perfect. So a requirement for MFA for all remote access. Yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? Vendor access. Other vendors should, yeah, other vendor access. I went literally blow for blow with I had a dry cleaner that I supported, and they had a vendor who remoted into their systems. When I got there, 3389 was open in the firewall, and this dude's already peeing in to update the dry wash equipment. And we went to blows with him over it, and basically sat down with the customer and said, either we can't do business with you, Mr. Customer, or you shut that vendor's access off and you let us put secured access. The vendor threw an absolute fit. The guy called me in his office. I was sure I was going to get fired. And he looked across the table at me and he said, I hire you to keep me safe. I have to trust your judgment. He'll have to get over it. And that dude was mad forever, but we did MFA VPN and made him VPN in. And it's the right thing to do, right? So Lowell, you're starting to see it, and you're in Canada, right? So you're seeing a different, what is normally even a slightly more lax security requirement than some of what happens here in the States. So I just want you guys to be aware this stuff is everywhere. Again, if you hop on our call tomorrow for Lifecycle Insights partners, our 3 o'clock call tomorrow, we'll talk about how this applies to the insurance industry. Excuse me. We'll have industry experts on the call. If there are those of you who are not partners, if you want to get invited to a one-timer, we'll slide you in there. Just let me know. These are really smart people. They come from the insurance industry. Oscar, do me a favor. When you see my contact info at the end, just send me an email asking for an invite, and I'll make sure that you get it. I'm not sure we can turn this webinar around fast enough. So if you guys send me individual requests, I'll make sure that you get on that call. And and so, these cybersecurity questionnaires are a big thing, right? As for our platform and as for kind of how we handle it, our goal is to give you the tool to go into your customer and say, hey, this is kind of where you live, and this is where I need you to live. Then a tool like Josh's is going to call this out for you easy, make you not imagine having to have someone in your team answer these questions. Not the brightest guy in the room, just the average guy who's filling in some questions for a questionnaire. Answer these questions for a Microsoft 365 tenant. It's not easy. These kind of tools just simplify this process, save you time. Yes, every tool you buy costs money, and I know there's way too many companies out there competing for your wallet share. 100%. I'm the guy who said when we launched this company that we couldn't be an expensive product because MSPs have too many people competing for their wallet share. There is a business made out of separating you from your cash, and that's not okay. We've got to help you create enough want for these tools that you can charge more to your customer to go deliver this kind of an experience. And I do think that this is one of those cases where you can charge more to your customer to be able to say, we're going to extend the cybersecurity management that we do for you today into the Intune cloud, into the Microsoft 365 cloud to handle a bunch of those things. So, Bill, I'm assuming this recording will go out in about 48 hours. Expect to see it in your mailbox by Monday, but I don't know if we can get it out before that. I hope that's all right. Live, so we're good with that. All right, so with that, that kind of covers the majority of what we wanted to talk about today, and we're pretty good on time, but we got a few minutes left for you guys to answer questions just as soon as we touch on some of the final items here. If you guys want to follow up with Simeon Cloud, give these guys a shout. SimeonCloud.com/contact us. That'll get you right to them. I like to put everybody's LinkedIn out there because I feel like a lot of good business can be done out there. So my LinkedIn and Josh's LinkedIn are both out there. They're giving you guys a coupon code for your first 2 months at 50% off. So for those of you who are worried about price, get out here, try it, get into it on the cheap, get out and show it to your clients. Josh, can you share anything on pricing model just to give people an idea of kind of what they're looking at?
Sure. It ranges from $35 a month per tenant to $80 a month per tenant, depending on how many you have on the platform. There you
go. So it's a per cost per tenant fee.
Yep.
And then if you want to follow up with Lifecycle Insights, there's our stuff too. All of the Lifecycle Insights, you can go schedule a demo with us at the bit.ly link there. LinkedIn.com, Alex J. Farling, and a coupon code Simeon Cloud that is case sensitive for your first 2 months half off. Truman, do me a favor though and send me an email. And I just realized I didn't put my email up here. So anybody who sends an email to that email address, I will make sure that you get the invite to tomorrow's call. And then from here, feel free to ask any other questions you guys have for the folks at Simeon Cloud, or for me, for example, to that end. And other than that, we might give you guys seven minutes back in your day. And that is 7 minutes to finish yourselves up here. Unless you're on the West Coast. Apparently you guys aren't.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for coming out. I mean, obviously we had a good attendance here today, a lot of good interaction. So people are interested in this, people care about this. I was pretty convinced when I saw it that it was something that we needed to see, that partners need to see, customers need to see. It's just something that in my mind simply isn't being done. We had the conversation over how many hours it takes an MSP to do this. And my answer to you, if you remember, was Doesn't take them any hours to do this right now because they just don't freaking do it. They don't have the time, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the bandwidth. There are probably a couple folks out here. Oscar's going to show off and say, I write all my own code and do all this on my own. But he's the unicorn, right? There's not a lot of guys out there who can script this, who can build it, who can push this kind of stuff out to all their tenants. They have their hands full with everything else. And the average MSP is 10 employees or less. So, you know, that size employee, we just can't do this. So if you think about it, guys, if you want to talk to me at Lifecycle Insights about how I would use Lifecycle Insights to convince my customer to spend $150 a month, every single month, to allow me to help them secure their cloud stuff, you know, I think we can make an easy argument for the fact that I can make Lifecycle Insights pay for itself. I can make Lifecycle Insights pay for Simeon Cloud, and we can probably even pay for some SaaS alerts to go on top of it, so you can monitor logins and things like that. I mean, there's some interesting packaging and pricing options you could do with SaaS alerts and Simeon Cloud to build yourself a protect your SaaS assets type security product. And we can give you all the right questions to ask to go to your customer, to come back to you know, something just like this that says, hey, without us, you have not, and to steal from SaaS alerts. Help me help you, like, buy this product for me so I can cover your SaaS. Because right now your SaaS is hanging out in the wind, right? It's insecure. You're not tracking for logins and things that they do over at SaaS Alerts. And Josh, we'll probably have you guys and SaaS Alerts back at some point so you guys can hang out together, because that'd be an interesting call too.
Absolutely.
With that, I think we're going to wrap up. Everybody stopped asking questions, so we're going to turn you guys loose and give you officially 5 minutes back in your day. So thanks much to everyone. I'll be looking for those emails, and I'll send you out an invite to come join us tomorrow. And if we can talk Josh into it, maybe we'll drag him on the call too.
Okay, that sounds good.
We'll
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.